You are listening to Amplify Your Success Podcast, episode 244. And today I've got a special guest joining me to take the mystery out of making passive income in your business. You ready for this? Let's get started. Welcome to the Amplify Your Success Podcast. Get ready to ramp up your revenue, amplify your impact, and make your mark in the world. This is the show for experts, thought leaders, and service professionals who want to shatter their limits and achieve that next level. You're going to find out from other experts and influencers how they made it. Now, let's get amplified. Hey there, inspired entrepreneurs and business leaders. It's your host, Melanie Benson, Authority Amplifier, and today I'm going to be talking with a guest about what really has to happen to make passive income, or as you'll quickly learn, semi-passive or leveraged income. Yes, we're going to talk about what the truth is about a passive income business and what it really takes to create it, what's realistic, breaking down some of the myths. You know, a lot of people talk about passive income, but what they don't realize, and I know I got caught up in this trap in the early days, is it's never really passive. Like, it's not create it once and it's making money for life. You're always going to have to manage that system. So knowing what really has to take place to make passive income real, I think could take some of the mystery out and help you actually achieve it. And figuring out what's the right passive income for you. Now, some of the ways that I found that creating more passive income actually works is finding ways to take somebody who's really excited, really inspired, and really looking for you and the content and the offers you have, and giving them opportunities while they're excited about it to take that next step with you. These are some of the tips I share in my Revenue Rush Toolkit. And it's been a while since I've talked about it here on Amplify Your Success Podcast. So I wanted to make sure that you get your hands on the Revenue Rush Toolkit at yourrevenuerush.com. Now, here's what you'll find inside. This is a totally free resource that you can download right now. And what you will discover are 10 of my favorite ways to create consistent, predictable cash flow, as well as jumpstart revenue when you need it the most. Okay, so if you head over to yourrevenuerush.com, or if you're on the show page and you're looking at the show notes, we'll link that up for you there as well. Now, let's get into my conversation with my guest, Lisa Johnson, and figure out what needs to happen to bump this up to passive and semi-passive income. You ready for this? Let's do it. Welcome back, Amplifiers. I'm excited for today's conversation. We're talking about the steps to making passive and semi-passive income in your business online. Get ready for this. I am joined today by Lisa Johnson. She is a multi-seven-figure business strategist specializing in helping entrepreneurs scale their businesses using passive and semi-passive income from memberships and courses. After a tough childhood spent in social housing, Lisa went on to have successful careers in law, banking, entertainment, and now has multiple seven-figure launches in her own business. Her background in overcoming obstacles has helped mold her into a bold, straight-talking coach who's never afraid to be an authentic and outspoken truth teller. She has been spoken on the BBC's Women's Hour and is a Thrive Global contributor, been featured in national newspapers and magazines, including Psychology's The Guardian, Forbes Magazine, and Fast Company. And Lisa is joining us today from Hertfordshire, UK, and often spends time with her husband and 9-year-old twins, but coaches around the globe. I'm assuming that means you're coaching right from your home office, but can touch people
Absolutely.
all over the globe. Isn't that we were just talking about that in the green room. That's the best part right now of having an online business. We can be touching people all over the world. We're not susceptible to all the the
Yeah,
things going on outside of our home.
we're
We have
very
a lot of
lucky.
flexibility, right?
Yeah, it's so good that we are, and I want more and more people to have that flexibility and freedom that we have.
Yeah. I have so many things I want to ask you because this is an area I get lots of questions all the time from my community, and that is I want to talk about before we get into all of your great tips, like how you really, like, you just dropped into the market and went gangbusters because you have something really irresistible. And this is one of the things I try to bring home to my audience all the time, is that you can have the best secret resource or service or program, but if you don't have an irresistible offer, it's really hard to go big fast. So what do you think was the big thing for you that helped you, like, get off the ground and really making money quickly in your business?
I think the biggest thing was that I was able to grow a loyal audience. And that's not to say, just grow an audience. I know everybody says grow an audience, but I think there's a massive difference between growing just an audience like everybody does and growing a loyal audience that will buy from you over and over again, but not just that, that will tell everybody else to buy from you as well. And it's made a massive difference for me over the last 4 years since I started. And how I did that was, the first thing I did when I started this business, I was a wedding planner before this, and wanted to kind of teach people all the mistakes I'd made in my business, because we all have mistakes. We've all made mistakes in business, and all the things that were working as well. And all I did was open a Facebook group and start talking every day to that Facebook group. I didn't have a website or a brand or a page even, or a list or anything. All I did for the first 5 months was chat to some people in a Facebook group. And in month 6, made the first 100,000 in profit.
Mm. That I'm going to use a really funny word that I don't normally use, but that's like sexy hot. Like, that's, people are like, where should I start? What should I do? And I've been in business so long that everything's radically different now. So starting now, I mean, back then you went to networking meetings, you spoke on stages, and it's just so different. There's so many more opportunities with social media and all of the social platforms now.
There
Do
are,
you,
and it's brilliant. It's such a good thing. I know people moan about things like Facebook and Instagram and algorithms and that kind of thing, but I always just feel really grateful that if we wanted to speak directly to thousands of our ideal clients, even 20 years ago, we would have to go on TV or the radio and pay a lot of money for it. We get to turn up for free and give value, which is
yeah.
amazing.
And that's attractive. That's, like, irresistible and alluring to people.
Yeah.
So, well done, you.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the semi-passive and passive income. I think this is a confusing language, right? It's like
Mm.
what we mean by passive and what we mean by semi-passive and what actually that translates to. Can you take us behind the scenes a little bit, and, like, what are the types of passive and semi-passive income streams that you teach people about?
Yeah, well, let's get rid of a myth first about what passive income is, because you're really right about the language. And I do wish that it was called leveraged income, because all you're
Oh,
doing
that's
is
what I call it, by the way.
do you? Oh, I
That's
love that.
exactly what I call it. I'm like, I'm not using that language because it's
Yeah, it's
confusing,
it's
but
what
I'm with
it's
you.
honestly what we should all call it, because all you're doing is you're just stopping trading time for money. So you're just using your time in a better way. And unfortunately, the whole world knows it as passive income now when I talk about it, and so it's very difficult to change it. But you don't just go to sleep and all this money kind of rains down on you. It just doesn't work that way. You have to build an asset up front, and then it becomes passive when you sell it time and time again. So it's really hard work at the beginning, and I think that the word passive leads people to believe there's no hard work involved, which just simply isn't true. But the reason that I even started in the first place was because in the first year of my business, and I think a lot of us do this, we just fall into things. And I fell into doing one-to-ones with people. So it was a lot of my time. At one point, I think I had 15 one-to-ones on the go and was drained, burning out constantly, doing really well financially, but at what cost? I have twins who are, they're only 9 now. So this was when they were 5. And I never saw them. I was just working, continuously. Left a 9 to 5 to work from 6 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night, which wasn't the dream. And so realized that there needed to be another way. And I didn't know what that way was at the time. I didn't know there were different business models. And then I was listening to a podcast like this one, and someone was talking about how passive income and whether it was real or not, they were having that debate. Which often happens. And I started listening, and I went down this rabbit hole of wanting to know everything about passive income streams and tried them, like started learning. I spent hundreds and thousands of pounds learning about every single different type of passive income stream, from drop shipping to courses to memberships to cryptocurrency to affiliate marketing, and started just adding them into my business. And so if we go back to the end of year one that we were just talking about, when I was working 80 hours a week, 80 hours, which is madness, and earning probably around 220,000, which is good. I'm not saying that wasn't, but at the end of year two, once I'd learned about these different income streams and added some into my business, I was working 30 hours a month, and still do, and was earning over 1 million, and then over 2 million. And it very quickly escalated because it's scalable. So for me, I think the best types of, it's semi-passive really. Most of the things I do now are semi-passive. And I think the best things we can do are courses, workshops, and memberships. I think if you already have a business, those three things, even if you don't already have a business, are very quick to get going. And that's how I made most of my multi-seven figures, and it's how I teach others now.
So I have so many things I want to ask you about, because this is really exciting. And I know this is going to be super inspiring for our Amplify community, because I think there becomes a moment when, and I've noticed it's around 225,000 for most entrepreneurs, but some people never even get there, and their income has been kind of stuck because they're a service provider that doesn't charge a lot per hour.
Yeah.
And so this idea that, wow, I could actually grow my revenue without having to work so hard in my business is very alluring and often hard to translate into action.
Yeah.
When I was researching your work and what you do, I saw a lot about your cash system. So I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Yeah, you are.
But you use a cash system for, and by the way, I'm very excited to share your resource, because I was like, ooh, snap, that's good stuff. But tell us about how that helps people really find those and implement those opportunities for, I'm going to call, leveraged income.
Yeah. I think what happened was, I knew what I had to do, and I'm an action taker, and I'm a curious person. So I'll try something, and if it doesn't work, I'll do something else, and it doesn't work, and I'll tweak it, and I'll just carry on like that. I like to play with things. But I know that most people get very disheartened if they don't have a plan, like a blueprint to follow. And so what I realized was, as I was adding these different income streams into my business, and as I was teaching other people to, and they were making more money in less time, I was doing the same kind of thing over and over again with some tweaks. And so I trademarked this system, the cash system, to just help everybody with the implementation side of things. So if we go through it, we just go through the letters. The C in the cash system is step one, and that's all about your client, your customer, rather than be thinking all the time, do I want a membership? Do I want a course? Do I want a group program? Instead, be thinking, who do I want to help? Who do I want to serve? Because if we can work out that, then we can ask them what they need. So it doesn't have to be the other way around, and things become much easier. So you need to know everything about that ideal client and who you want to help, just as you would for your normal business. Even if your passive income stream, your leveraged income stream, isn't the same, it could be in a completely different arena and industry, you still need to work out your ideal client. So that's C. Then we go on to A. Once you know who that person is, grow an audience of those people, of those ideal clients somewhere. Now, that could be a Facebook group, but it doesn't have to be. That could be an email list. It could be on Instagram. It could be wherever you want it. But grow an audience and use a sales funnel. It's the easiest way. We've been doing it for years, and that's because it works. And you don't have to use Facebook ads or anything like that. I didn't use Facebook ads until I'd already hit 7 figures. And then nurture that audience as well. Like, don't just grow an audience, be there for them, give them value. And then we go on to the S in the cash system. And the first S, there are 2 S's. The first is for structure and system. Once you know what you want to deliver, let's say you said, you know what, I've grown my audience. They've said they could really do with a membership for ongoing support. Then work out where you're going to host the membership or course or whatever it ends up being. There are so many different options these days of where we can host things, and all of those places, are free to play with for a couple of weeks. So just go on what works for you and work out how you want to deliver it. For me, I love doing everything on video. But some people hate video and they just want to do workbooks or checklists or audio, and that's cool too. And then you go on to the next S, which is the crux of all of it, which is selling. And as we know, online, selling means launching. And this is where most people get things wrong, because they grow their audience, they ask them what they want, they create what they want, they find the system to do it in, and then they come to me and say, I did everything you said, and I launched my course or program, and it didn't work. No one bought it. And it's because the program is not very good or the course is not very good. And I'll say, it won't be that. It will definitely be how you launched it. And when I ask them how they launched it, 9 times out of 10, they've done a post or one live to their audience saying, hey, I've got this thing, do you want to buy it? And that's just not enough. These days our audiences are really savvy, they're smart, and they're wary because they've all been burned online. And so they should need a bit more due diligence. They should need warming up. They should need to see that we can offer that value. And so having like a 12-week launch system where you do anything from a challenge to a summit to video, whatever you want to do, to warm them up, to get them to be able to buy is a really good thing. So launch properly. And then the fifth kind of element to this cash system is the H, which is happy. The passive income or the leveraged income that we're talking about, like we just talked about, it's not really very passive the first time. You're having to, write your content. You're having to grow an audience, work out how to launch. It only actually becomes passive the second, third, fourth, fifth time you're putting out the same thing with the same marketing. To get that, you need to be getting your clients the results that you have promised them. And the way to do that is to go the extra mile, to put in things, watch, see what happens. For instance, on one of my programs, One to Many, we saw that on about week 2 to 3, when we were teaching them how to build their sales funnel, how to build their audience, they were stuck. They just weren't going any further. And if people don't finish a course, and most people don't finish a course, they're not going to get the results. And so we said to them, what's stopping you? We're teaching you it step by step. And they said, the tech is really hard. We find it difficult. And so we decided to give them a bespoke sales funnel for each person and pay a team to do it. And that helped. They all started to move forwards. And then we noticed again that when they got to about module 7 to 8, they stopped again quite near the end. And we were like, what do you need now? Like, you've gone all this way to the end. And they said, well, life gets in the way, motivation goes. And so we put them in accountability pods and we forced them to get to the end. And basically, by adding those two things, everyone got to the end of the program and started getting results. And if they get results, they're going to shout about it to everybody else, and they're going to come and join your program. And that's how I never needed to use Facebook ads, because I kept my clients happy. But you'll only get to that level by keeping your clients happy. So those 5 steps is really all it takes to get there. And there's a lot of noise out there, but if you just follow those 5 things, you will make semi-passive income.
I love that you brought up the launching and where people get it wrong. I have seen that over and over and over again. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I sent an email to my community and I got one person. I'm like, yeah, right.
You will.
So good stuff. I love that. What have you noticed is possible when you started to move from so much effort in your business to having more passive and leveraged income from these kind of programs?
Oh, everything. My life completely changed. So I now spend most of my life traveling around the globe with my twins and showing them the world, unless it's a COVID year. And I could never have thought that I could do that before and still run a successful business. And there's just an ease to everything. I really like things to be streamlined. And in that first year, I was constantly trying to think of ways to get new clients, kind of that whole spraying and praying approach, just hoping things work out and not really having that kind of feast or famine where one month I had loads of money and then the next month I would have no money and I didn't understand why. And so what's really happened with the kind of leveraged income streams is I've got this recurring revenue. So for instance, we knew in February, my operations manager said to me, if you stop right now and didn't sell a single other thing and just went to bed now for the rest of the year, you'd still make 2 million by the end of this year, because it's recurring revenue from the year before. And that there is something very secure and nice about knowing what's coming in every month and being able to forecast it.
Yeah, I agree. And even, I want to just create context for all of our listeners. Like even if it's uh 100,000 a year guaranteed, and that's growth for you, right? Like whatever
Absolutely.
your range is right now, like I love that the possibility is a multi-million dollar business. And some of our listeners are like, how do I just get to 100,000, right?
Yeah.
How do I just get 200,000 guaranteed income that I'm not having to exchange an hour every single moment of
Absolutely.
my day to make that dollar, right?
Yeah, and sometimes it's not anything to do with the business that you're doing now. Like people often think that they have to put courses or memberships out about what they do in their business right now, whether they're a coach or a fitness guru or whatever. But actually, some of my biggest successes have been something completely different. So, for instance, Lauren, I always talk about Lauren because she's just such a different kind of entrepreneur. She came to me and already had some businesses, but she knew that she didn't want to make passive or semi-passive income streams out of the business she already had. She was happy with it. And so I said, well, what else do you like? And she said, well, I love the theatre. I go to the theatre all the time. And I said, right, well, if you like something, there are others that like the same thing. So she started this membership, really low cost, for people that like the theatre, and they discussed things like what are the best seats in this particular show on Broadway, etc. And they, did interviews with people. And eventually she started to realize that she could get tickets for people and make a little bit of a cut on that as well. And in 2019, she made 600,000 from that one membership. And it was nothing to do with her business. So it
That's
could be
impressive.
just something that is your passion that you've never thought about making money from. I have everything from memberships and courses on dating, on how to bring up confident kids, on Caribbean cooking, on hula hooping, like a myriad of clients with these different things that are absolutely nothing to do with their businesses, and they're making really good money from them.
Hmm. Such great examples. I love that. See, I'm the kind of person that I kind of like double down on the thing you do in business, and
Mm.
I love that you're bringing a diverse possibility here, and that it doesn't have to have anything to do with your core business. It could actually be something that you're passionate about, and
Yeah,
we're
something fun.
creating revenue streams from our passion that way.
Yeah, and it's always good if it is to do with your business, because you've probably already got a bit of an audience there. So you're a couple of steps ahead in that cash system, because you know your ideal client already if it's to do with your business, and you've already probably got the start of an audience, and therefore you haven't got so far to go. But there are options if you don't want to, if you want to do something completely different and just have that creative side come back again and think about what else you know. The first passive income product I ever bought was How to Get Around Disneyland with Two Under Twos. And it was an ebook. And it was what sparked the idea in my head of, she's making a lot of money from this. And I spoke to her and said, I've just paid $49 for this book. Are you an expert? And she said, well, I've been to Disneyland a few times, and I know, I've got 202s and I know the best places to go. And I realized that the expert is just the person that knows the most in a particular room about a subject, not the world. It's in a particular room. And she was the expert compared to me. And that's why I bought from her. And she told me that she was making hundreds of dollars every single month from this one ebook that she'd written 2 years before.
Interesting. That's so creative. I love it. Um, you have a resource that I can't wait to share with our community, the cash calculator. Would you mind just sharing real quick what it is, and let's tell everybody how they can get access to it?
Yeah, it's a quiz. It will take you about 5 minutes to see what you need to kind of work on to be making passive income. Because people often come to me and they say, okay, I've got an audience, or I don't know how to do this bit, and I don't know how far away I am, or whether I'm ready to make passive income. So I devised this quiz that will tell you very quickly the percentage that you're ready, and if you're not ready, what you need to work on next. And it's bespoke to the answers that you put in. You can get it at thecashcalculator.com.
Perfect. I love it. I'm going to recommend that you go and take the cash calculator quiz, especially if you're noticing you're working way too hard and you're not really enjoying any kind of passive or leveraged income, this is a great place to start. I have a couple of things I love to ask my guests just to kind of bring everybody back to like what it really takes to grow a successful business. And you've been in business, I think you said about 4 years now, and just
Yeah.
hit the ground running, like smash hit out of the gate, which is always nice. What was the boldest thing you had to do to create that kind of success so quickly?
The boldest, did you say?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tricky question. I feel like everything I do these days is bold. I think that in that first year, I got bullied online by some other
Mm.
big industry people, and my first reaction was to hide, just hide and go to ground. And the boldest thing I did was to realize that other people's opinions don't matter to your business. Even your peers' opinions don't really matter to your business and what they do. It's only about what you and your clients care about that matters. And so for me, I was bold enough to realize that adversity is actually what was going to fuel my success, that bullying, and went for it. And so just became very visible very quickly. Even I was scared, there was fear there, but knew that the fear could not be the loudest voice in my head for a while.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I'm so glad you shared that. It's an epidemic out
Isn't it?
there, and it's really it's creating an unsafe environment for people to be willing to be authentic and genuine. And what the world doesn't need is a lot of copycat conversations and plain vanilla experiences. Like I
Yeah.
love that you're bold. I love that you bring that bold energy into the work you do. So
Thank you.
great.
The reality of the whole thing is that we can only change this industry from the inside out. We can moan about
Yeah.
it, or we can do the work to have a ripple effect on how we do things so that everyone else sees that and copies that.
I completely agree. It's been my core life mission for the last 10 years is to be
Amazing.
the example of what's possible as a successful coach and
Yeah.
not fall into all of the questionable and maybe integrity gray zones that happen out there in the market.
Yeah.
So I love that. So just out of curiosity, before I ask you my last question,
Mm.
you being newer in the industry, and knowing that we share this passion, like what do you think has to change in our online industry?
I think we have to start seeing people as people and not numbers. That's the biggest thing. The whole run to the back of the room at an event mentality, for instance, needs to change. The pressure, the just stick it on a credit card needs to change. Here's some ways that you can get some credit. The whole, if you need to talk to your husband about this, then you're not a real businesswoman. There's so many questionable practices. The scarcity tactics that we use to get people to sign on to things. This just past month that went, I did a launch, and we decided it was an affiliate launch, and I'd seen how badly some affiliate launches are run. And we said to everybody in who are our affiliates, we're going to do this with integrity. And what that means is if somebody is saying to you that they're going to get into debt because of it, you don't take them on. If somebody's coming to you and you know that there's a better coach out there or a better program that's a better fit for them, we're going to give them to our competitors, and we're going to do no pressure selling at all. In fact, we're going to do the opposite. And we did, and we still made $3.5 million. And I want that to be proof out here that you can do it in the right way. You don't have to use these techniques that have been handed down for years and years. It doesn't have to be that way.
Mhm. I love that. What a shining light you are. This is it's nice to to have this conversation and make this the conversation that's the normal conversation, right?
Yeah, it really is.
Last question is what's one thing you wish you would have done sooner?
No, that's easy. I wish I'd have done an email list sooner. I had no clue. Like, I didn't start an email list until a year and a half in, and not even properly until the beginning of last year. And you can actually see a line between my email list going up and the revenue that we're making. Like, it's a very clear line of what's making the money and what's making the difference. So I
Nice.
really wish I'd have started a lot earlier.
I think several people can relate to that, and not just start an email list, but actually nurture it, right? Like
Yeah,
having the list is only good for you if you actually have a ongoing communication and conversation with the people on it.
absolutely. You're so right.
Lisa, you're such a joy and you have so much powerful energy. I'm excited to share you with the community. Amplifiers, let's make sure you're in the Amplify Your Authority Facebook community. We're going to be taking this conversation deeper. And I want to hear from you. What is one way you can create more leveraged income? Make sure you check out Lisa's cash calculator. I'll link it up in the show notes just to make sure you have it handy. Let's bust some myths and start creating scalable businesses that free us up to do the things we're most passionate about. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for tuning in today, Amplifier. Be sure to join us right now in the Amplify Your Authority community at authorityamplifiers.com, and I'll share my 7 proven tips to be a highly paid expert that stands out in a crowded market. Plus, we're going to keep this conversation going, and I want to hear from you how you're going to amplify your authority and make a greater impact. Before you go, please take a minute to give our show and our guests some love over on your favorite podcasting platform. Subscribe, rate, and review. Leave your full name, and I'll spotlight you and your authority on social media.